Hey there guys, how are you doing? This is Rob of Rule of Two Review. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a fantastic day. And today, with the end of the year closing in on us very soon, I want to come back to a topic that is pretty relevant and I think is something that a lot of us are thinking about, but maybe not a lot of folks are talking about too much yet. I actually have discussed this on a video probably around a year ago, but with so much time between then and now, I thought it was a good time to revisit this concept. And it's discussing and breaking down what Nintendo might be thinking in terms of the hybrid nature for the Switch 2 or their next generation console. What this really boils down to me is pretty simple, and I'm sure it's something you guys very much think about and are aware of, and it's whether or not the hybrid aspect of what the current Switch is actually meant to continue and be the main focal point and main feature to Nintendo's next console, their next generation hardware, the thing that we all keep calling the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, as much as I would like to make this a predictions video of sort and an actual guess from me on whether or not Nintendo will or won't continue the hybrid nature going into the next generation, I kind of realize that I'm not really comfortable making that prediction. I don't know that I have a hard thought on either way. So instead, what I want to do is actually present a case for each side. A case for why it would be good for them to continue the hybrid nature, and a case for why it could be good for them to avoid it, or abandon it, or maybe move on to some different idea. And so, when discussing why it makes sense for them to continue the hybrid nature into the Switch 2 or next generation console, I think it's obvious, and it's just the simple fact that Nintendo has seen unprecedented success with the Nintendo Switch in its current form, the 2017 hardware, that yes, has seen a couple of revisions in the form of the Switch Lite and the Switch OLED, but by and large, it is still just the 2017 technology that went into the original Switch that released in 2017, and that's what we're all playing on. Whether it's a regular Switch, a Switch OLED, or a Switch Lite, it's 2017 tech. And it's no secret that what Nintendo has achieved with the current Switch and its level of popularity and success is unfathomable. I mean, it's become their best-selling home console of all time by a wide margin. It's crushed the Wii by like, I don't know, 25, 30 million or something at this point. Actually, I think it's over 30 million. That it's sold more than what the initial Wii sold, which is crazy, because that was also just a huge hit and a huge phenomenon. The Switch has smashed those numbers, and theoretically is knocking on the door of the Nintendo DS family, which is their most successful selling piece of hardware of all time, and also the second most across the whole industry, right behind the PlayStation 2. And so, for all we know, if they can maintain momentum, even after the release of a Switch 2, for example, there is a chance that it becomes the best-selling hardware of all time. And so, that's all to say that what the Switch has accomplished and the success Nintendo has seen and the incredible rebound coming off of the unfortunate failure of the Wii U is so impressive that it's hard to imagine from a business perspective why Nintendo would think that moving on from the hybrid concept would be a good idea. And so that's why I think it presents a pretty strong case for maybe why one can say that Nintendo should continue the hybrid nature, and also why they probably would continue the hybrid nature. And I think that combining the hybrid nature of what the Switch is in a world where other devices now do similar things, which of course I will be getting to in a couple of minutes here, but when you combine that hybrid nature with Nintendo's first-party games and their first-party content and franchises that you can only play on their device, that married with the hybrid nature, even 7 or so years into its life and coming up on the end, that I think has really been part of the true formula to success for the Switch. Not only the device being good and quality and allowing this hybrid nature, but it's the fact that Nintendo's games, your Zelda games and your Metroid games and your Mario games and your Animal Crossing games and your Smash Brothers games and your Fire Emblem games and your Kirby games, right? Keep the list going, Luigi's Mansion, whatever the case may be. And then of course, third-party games like Astral Chain, right? Exclusive games, Bayonetta 3. You know, all of these games that you can only play on one device that plays on your TV or on the go with the handheld nature, it's really, I think, why Nintendo saw such great success. And, you know, we all know that it was born out of the initial concept that was the Wii U, which itself was born out of older Nintendo ideas, and I'm actually considering making a video specific to that whole concept and Nintendo's general path and trajectory of taking the handheld dual screen experience into what became the Switch, because I think the path to the Switch's final design actually goes farther back than a lot of people realize. But that aside, it's just been, you know, to kind of wrap this part of the conversation up, it's been great, it's been successful. I think that a lot of people want Nintendo to just take the idea of what the Switch is and just make a more powerful Switch. And there is certainly a path to success for that as well. You know, some people don't necessarily want things to change. They don't want new gimmicks or ideas from Nintendo or any company. They don't want what the Switch is to be changed. They just want a hybrid Switch with Joy-Cons that attach and detach and just make it as powerful as a PS5. And look, I like that idea. I would be just as happy. I am a TV-only player. I never take my Switch portably. My wife plays her Switch almost exclusively portably, so I am a household that has two different players that takes advantage of both types of play. But as somebody who only plays on the TV, I would like to see another Nintendo console, even a hybrid Switch 2, that is almost as powerful as like a PS5 or whatever, or like a PS4 Pro and in that kind of range. So sure, they don't have to introduce new gimmicks and change it up to make it appealing to me and to most people. And I think that if Nintendo wanted to play it safe, which it would be playing it very safe, just make another Switch and make it more powerful. Will it sell as much as the current Switch? I kind of doubt it. I sort of see that being similar to the Nintendo DS family, to the Nintendo 3DS family, where both were monumentally successful, but the 3DS family sold around like half as much as the DS family. And so maybe a Switch 2, if it was the exact same but more powerful, it would probably do something similar, but that wouldn't be a failure, and I think Nintendo would be happy with that as well. So there's a lot of reasons why sticking with what's already worked and just making a slight improvement with the power might be the only thing that they need and the only thing that they choose to do, especially if it's backwards compatible with Switch cartridges. That in and of itself becomes a huge boon to them, and I think there is a great chance that that is Nintendo's plan. Now, let's revisit the other side of this topic, which to me, I don't necessarily see it any more likely than the other option, but I do think it's actually the more interesting option to discuss. And it's if there is a reason why Nintendo wouldn't continue the hybrid nature of the Switch. And like I said, presenting a case for why they might do this, or it could be smart for them to do this, right? Presenting those cases. And to me, it's very simple. Like I said, I made a video sometime in the past year or so about this as well, but now I'm having a more evolved conversation because a lot of time has passed since then, and we have just a different perspective on this whole thing. And so why do I think Nintendo might not, or maybe shouldn't, continue the hybrid nature? And like I said, it's simple because there's now a lot of copycats, and there's a lot of devices that do exactly what the Switch has done. Now, I know it could be very easy for a lot of you to write this idea off as not good enough of a reason or not important enough or something that Nintendo wouldn't care about when considering stepping away from the hybrid nature. And I would understand that. There is a part of me that agrees with you. Like I said, that's why I'm not making this a prediction. I don't have a strong feeling yet on which direction they will go. But only in talking about why there is a case for them to move away from the hybrid nature, the competition of so many other companies and devices continuing to come out. There's not just one or two. If you guys pay attention to the landscape right now, there are constantly new devices coming out and being announced and released that are doing what the Switch did, or taking advantage of that console and PC quality experience in a handheld device on the go with a large screen in your hand. Something that the Switch did really perfect, again, building off of the Wii U concept, but actually making it better in a way. There are now a lot of companies doing that, and it could be easy to say, Nintendo's not the kind of company that cares. They're not the kind of company that's going to see a Steam Deck or a ROG Ally or a PlayStation Portal or whatever it is that's out there on the market. They're not going to see those things and let it impact their business and their decisions with their hardware. And you could also say, like I said at the beginning, because you still get Nintendo's exclusive first-party content on a Switch 2, that's another reason why they wouldn't care. And again, great points that I don't disagree with. But I think we have to consider, and this is similar to the point I made a year ago in that video, we have to consider that part of what did help the Switch be a huge success coming off of the failure of the Wii U isn't just Nintendo's games, it's the fact that at the time it was the only thing that did what it did. And Nintendo, if you pay attention to their business and if you look back on generations past, they thrive on being unique. They thrive on being the only company to do the thing that they're doing. Whether you're talking about the N64's controller with the analog stick, whether you're talking about the Wii Remote with motion controls and the nunchuck, whether you're talking about dual screen gaming with the 3DS, whether you're talking about touchscreen gaming with the Wii U or also the DS and 3DS, whether you're talking about a hybrid console that plays on your TV or on the go with console quality games and graphics like the Switch. Whichever one of these ideas you might be talking about, Nintendo is always the first to do them, and they don't always take off, like the Virtual Boy, obviously, but many times they do take off, most times they take off, and Nintendo is happy to be the first to do these things, and they thrive and prefer to be the only one doing it and doing it well. Once the landscape changes, we've seen evidence that Nintendo will decide to move on and introduce some other new idea. I really can't state enough how important I think this could be to Nintendo's decisions going forward. And again, going back to what I said, I know it could be easy to write off the competition as something Nintendo doesn't pay attention to, but every once in a while, they do. And it might even be less about the direct competition and the fact that other companies have started to copy their ideas with the Steam Deck, and even Sony making a weird, halfway step into this space with the PlayStation Portal and all that stuff. Nintendo may not be looking directly at the competition in their devices as much as they're looking at the landscape of the industry and seeing that the idea that they really were kind of the innovator on, a true portable console level experience with the Switch that also plays on your TV, this hybrid experience that they introduced, seeing that the industry and other companies are introducing similar devices, and you could argue that they're better quality. You know, I think the Steam Deck is just a better built machine than the Switch. It's pricier, and it doesn't play Nintendo's first-party games and all these things we know, but it's made a big impact. It's a popular device, and many of the other ones that are continuing to come out are also gaining traction. There's a lot of hype around the Portal right now, and I know it's weird because of the Wi-Fi remote play thing, but it's still in this conversation, in my opinion. I think that Nintendo is willing to look at what's happening in the industry as opposed to singling out companies or devices and say, if we can't stand out with the Switch 2, if we can't be the one company doing this unique hybrid thing with our next console, is there less value? Or could that hurt us? If we're not standing out, we've tended to struggle a lot of times. And so we need to try to do what the Wii did, and we need to try to do what the Switch did, where standing out in this unique way created massive success. Again, going back to all of the DS family devices as well. The Wii U is the outlier, which makes me sad because I love it, and the library is fantastic, but it is the outlier. But being the outlier makes it the exception. The rule has traditionally been your DSs and your Wiis and your Switches, when they're unique, have seen great success for Nintendo. A Switch 2 that is just another hybrid device, that is just a Switch but more powerful, has a real chance of being significantly less impactful simply because it's not going to stand out the same way. Nintendo can hopefully still see success and really push the uniqueness of their first-party games, and it could go in a variety of directions. But I really think, when just trying to think about why there is a case, again, this is not a prediction, this is just presenting a case why they might not do it. It is the fact that a hybrid Switch 2 no longer stands out among the pack. It is no longer unique, unless there's some other crazy unique thing to it. But again, this is about if they're just making a more powerful Switch, and just a more powerful hybrid Switch, relying on that hybrid gimmick to sell it, isn't going to get it done, in my opinion, and I think Nintendo would see the same. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens, and I'll be very interested to see how you guys feel and maybe which side of the fence you fall down on this here. Again, I know I spent most of the time talking about why they maybe wouldn't or shouldn't make another hybrid device for the Switch 2, but it's less about a prediction, like I said, and more about the fact that it's just the more interesting elements to discuss, and I think that there's just more to talk about on that side of the fence. You know, on the pro side of the fence, you're just saying, the Switch is super successful, so just take the same Switch and just make it more powerful. That's an easy thing to present. Just copy your success and hope that it's just as successful next time. But you have to present, I think, a different case and discuss more elements of the decision when you're talking about them moving away from it, because there are so many more devices that does what the Switch does on the market now. So these are the two kind of sides of this conversation as I see them. These are the reasons that I see them going in either direction. I have no idea what they're going to do. Again, I don't have a strong feeling. I believe each option is valid for different reasons. And I would be just as happy almost with either one as long as it's a good console that plays games I like. So I don't even have a preference necessarily. It's just an interesting thing to consider with the year coming to an end, and we think in the next handful of months we might hopefully see the Switch 2 revealed. So what it will turn out to be will be very interesting. These are my thoughts. Share what you think below, and that's about it.